On this week's BartenderHQ.com podcast, we are talking about Polugar, the great-grandfather of vodka. We're talking about the new roller coaster restaurant at Alton Towers, so stay tuned.
Welcome to the BartenderHQ.com podcast. Find us on Facebook and Twitter at BartenderHQ. Here's your host, David Scooby Sangwell.
Okay, so this Sunday just passed, I was in Nottingham with the guys from Polugar. We went to the Last Chance Saloon, had a wonderful time. Guys put on great hospitality for us, and we did a little bit of a masterclass, which Sam was running, along with James Boker from the Edgbaston. And then we followed that up with a mixology competition using kind of a mystery box and the Polugar flavours range. But I just wanted to run you through a little bit of a tasting of what Polugar is, a little bit of the flavours that you can expect if you want to try this out. I mean, it's not everywhere at the moment, but just to give you a quick overview of the product itself, it's not something that I'm associated with myself, but this is just the stuff that I've kind of picked up from doing this masterclass with the guys. So, if you think about the national drink of Russia, you're probably thinking of vodka straight away. But before vodka even existed, this was the national drink. This is Polugar, and it's essentially a bread wine. So it's made from rye, wheats, barleys, that kind of thing. The word Polugar actually means half burnt, so it's that's to do with the distillation method. We'll get into a little bit more of that later on. But essentially, it was banned by the Russians, Alexander II, I believe, as he wanted to bring in the purer vodka. The thing with vodka is obviously its purity means that there is a lot less flavour in there to kind of pick up on, whereas the Polugar is only taken up to around about 64-65%, if I remember correctly, during the distillation process. So that leaves a lot more of the flavours in there, more like you would do with, say, a rum or something like that. To get a vodka, you go to a highly rectified spirit, something around about 96-97% ABV, and then you cut it back with water. So, Polugar, all of these in the Polugar range are all sold at 38.5% ABV. They're all sold at 38.5% ABV. So that is essentially what they found to be the closest they could get to the traditional method. They use an egg white purification process, which costs a hell of a lot of money, and this fining process is normally used in wine production. Very little egg white is actually used, but it just kind of takes out a few of the impurities. It takes out the tannins and that sort of thing in wine, so you can imagine what it's going to do for something like this. Now, I'm going to have a little taste here. We're going to start off, this is the barley. So, let me just grab the tasting notes. So on the nose, straight away you can actually smell, it almost smells a bit like a bakery. You've got a lot of sort of bready notes in there. It really is so little that you can actually kind of compare this to. But bread wine, this is the real thing. This is what the guys were drinking way back in the day. So this is your Ivan the Terrible, this is your Peter the Great, your Pushkin, Dostoevsky, Chekhov. This is what they were drinking back in the day. So bottoms up. So it's definitely got a lot more flavour. It tastes like a brown bread roll, a brown bread kind of bap in your mouth. It's such a weird experience in comparison to the spirits that we're kind of used to today. So, I mean, I'm going to put a link to the whole of this PDF with all the details, all of the tasting notes up on the website. But moving on, we're going to just have a little taste. This is the wheat, all right? I know I've got tasting notes for this one. So, unlike the rye-based counterparts, this expression, the classic wheat Polugar, is made solely from wheat. More precisely, it's made by triple distilling a home brew made of malted and non-malted wheat grain in the 18th century copper pot still. So yes, the biggest difference between this and your vodkas, as well as the percentage that we go up to through the distillation, is that this uses copper pot stills. This does not use column distillation, and it was that column distillation point that is where the difference really came, and that's why the Polugar ended up getting banned, and vodka kind of took over as the national spirit of Russia. And also to go back into Russia now, it would have to be state-owned, as all of the alcohol production in Russia is. So let's have a little taste of this. The tasting notes state: aroma mild, round, light and delicate, warm wheat crumbs, grain and bread notes, hay, dry grass, slightly salty pickled cabbage, semi-sweet honey note. So yeah, you can definitely smell there is a lot more sweetness in this than there was in the barley Polugar. So little taste. Clean, measured, but doesn't hold back. Slightly salty, grassy nuances are dominated by kalak and white bread. Now, see, I don't know what kalak is, so that doesn't help me too much. If anyone knows, answers on a postcard, please. A very attractive velvetiness and flowery, fruity tones play on the tongue, and elegant bitterness competes with the spicy tones. Actually, yes, you can taste a lot more of that spice coming through actually afterwards. Light and mild aftertaste with notes of grains, wheat, and freshly cut white bread. Yeah, it has got a very, very bready kind of taste to it. The tasting notes for a lot of these are very similar, actually. So we're going to go into the rye now. This is the classic rye. The other thing that's very, very close to these is actually like an unaged whiskey. So like a new make whiskey is going to have very similar notes to some of these things. Because you've got no barrel aging with any of this. It's all of the flavour is actually coming from the ingredients. So again, with this, the classic rye. So very interesting. So this is aroma: fresh, bright, bready. Aroma of home baked goods: rye crust, rye bread, dill, caraway, pickling spices. See, a lot of these have a very similar kind of tasting notes. It's quite subtle differences, but you have to kind of taste them together to get the differences between these. But they're very, very, very interesting, and there was so much ingenuity and originality, especially with the drinks that the guys were making there. So definitely check out the pictures as well on bartenderhq.com's Facebook page. Okay, yeah. So this has got more flavour to it. It's a bit more warming. There is a saltiness to it that's actually going to work quite nicely, especially with the current fashion as well, for going more into the kind of salted and savoury flavours in drinks. So that's going to be very interesting for you guys if you want to kind of play around with the flavours and mix this. We're going to go on to the single rye now. Now this the single malt rye is quite expensive. I made a lovely boulevardier with it the other night, actually using this in place of the whiskey. It worked superbly well. There's a picture of the drink that I made actually up on Bartender HQ right now. So this is a very expensive version. This is kind of the... well, I will read you exactly what it says. So this is the true masterpiece of the legendary Russian bread wine, historic Russian vodka. Let's not call it vodka. This is straight from your tasting notes, guys. The Polugar single malt rye is a unique blend of single malt rye distillates created personally by famous Russian vodka historian Boris Rodvanov. Now, his name comes up a bit in these notes, so check that out. This is the finest and most perfect authentic Russian alcohol for experts, gourmets, and fine connoisseurs of elite alcohol. Polugar single malt rye is produced using select rye malt and natural water that has not undergone the chemical purification cycle. So, bright, rich and bready, aroma with warm home-baked goods, rye crackers, coriander, malt, honey, grains, new grasses, wildflowers, slight sweetness. Let's give it a go. Yep, not as sweet as the previous one. And yeah, it has got that kind of grassy note that you would almost expect from something like a Zabrowka. It's got that kind of the cut grass aroma to it, and you can definitely smell the coriander and the rye crackers thing. Very much. So taste. Let's move on. A pleasing complexity, mild taste of fresh rye bread, linden honey, meadow grasses, grains, slight rye bitterness. So this will. See, that is much smoother than the others, and it's not got as much length actually for me. But that just on ice for me, I would be really happy with that as a drink. Or even I'm going to throw these in the freezer and try them frozen later on. See how that gets on. So moving on, we've now got kind of flavoured Polugars. Now this is a rye and wheat blend. So this isn't actually flavoured, but this is a mixture of the classic rye and the wheat, which forms the base for the other flavours as far as I'm aware. So this is number 1. These are actually numbered right here, so you can tell which is which, and we're going to take them in order just for convenience. So, bready aroma of home baking. Yep, I can confirm that. It smells like baking. Delicate, slightly sweetish, warming soft taste of rye, wheat bread, crackers, bread crust with bread honey notes. Let's give it a go. Okay, so this actually has more of a kind of neutral flavour to it. I can imagine that all of this Polugar range is actually going to taste really good with like the salted cucumbers and the pickled vegetables that are really popular actually in Russia, Russian snacks. I'm hoping that my good friend Adam Sakharov will be actually watching this. One of the Russian guys that I was working with in Dubai. I think Adam's going to really enjoy this, seeing some of these traditional things going on. So we've got some flavoured versions now. So we're going to start off with number 2, which is garlic and pepper. Now this was a little bit sort of marmitey for the guys there on the day. I really quite like it. So let's give this a little taste. I'm literally tasting so little of these because I have a lot to get through today. So, but I can't stand spitting it out. Okay, so that's very strongly flavoured, like you get garlic right from the word go there. There is a little bit of spice from the pepper, but it's not spicy like a chili sauce kind of spice. It's just kind of a warming sensation. But according to the notes here, we should be looking at warming taste of baked garlic. Yep, getting that a lot. Hot pepper. It's not hot to me, but then I am also into insanely hot sauces. Wheat and rye bread, so that's, as I say, coming from this base of the rye and wheat mix that they use, the blend. Prolonged aftertaste with notes of garlic, spices, lard with slight nuances of grains and bread. I'm going to be right back because I need to clean this out before I taste the next one. Okay, we're back. So we're going to taste next the caraway. Now this was used in a couple of the cocktails that were made in the mixology round with the mystery box. So let's have a little taste of this. Let's just check the notes. So we are looking at produced using the classic recipe for 19th century Russian upper class vodkas. This beverage is based on rye distillate with caraway and coriander added before the 3rd distillation, giving it the familiar taste of beloved Borydsky bread. Now, obviously, I don't have any love for Borydsky bread because I've never tried it. However, let's give it a go. I'm guessing it's like a caraway bread. Okay, yeah, so that's got a really different flavour. There's a lot of butter in there. There's a lot. Acacia honey is mentioned. Yep, I can taste that straight away. String beans, coriander, citrus. Really punchy. That's a really interesting one. I really like that actually. Now, I did try all of these on Sunday, but because it was such a busy day and we're going through all of these different tastings and things, I didn't kind of get the chance to appreciate that one, but the caraway is really interesting. And so finally, honey and allspice. This is our last one. This is the number 4 in the flavours collection. These are produced by Rodvanov and Sons, so this is Boris Rodvanov, which we've already been through there, so it's going to be really interesting. Let's see where we are with this final one. Traditional upper class recipe of the 19th century, triple distillation of home brew made with rye and wheat in a copper still, to which aromatic and hot pepper is added before the 3rd distillation. So we've got aromatics added to here, aroma. Now immediately you get allspice with that. That is the big overpowering flavour. So like your Chinese 5-spice kind of flavour. So you got white pepper, bay leaf, pickling brine, salt cured products, herbs and spices, apricots, cinnamon. Definitely get the cinnamon. Pepper, dried parsley, bay leaf, ginger, hint of basil, nutmeg, and warm bread. That is all in the nose there. For me, I'm getting mainly that allspice. So there's a lot of cinnamon there. Smells like a bit of anise as well. Definitely get a bit of ginger and the basil. Some of the others, maybe the nutmeg is coming through. Some of the others I can't detect, but that is probably more down to my palate than anything else. So taste, tender, embracing, spiced, refined with a pleasant hotness. Honey, rum, sweets, sugar syrup, pepper and other spices. Let's give it a go. Okay. So yeah, I mean, you can really taste, actually, at the end of that, mint. You get a lot of kind of minty kind of aftertaste to that. There's definitely the ginger in there is very, very present. The spices in general, very much there. The ginger stays with you. The minty kind ofness stays with you. That could be coming from the anise kind of flavours in there, but really, really nice. And this range, if you haven't had a chance to have a look at it yet, I don't know where it's available at the moment. It's certainly available in the UK. You can get it through Emporia Beverages, which is the same guys that are dealing with Suze and beer, as I mentioned. Absolutely superb. Take a look at the drinks that were created for this competition. Congratulations to Stallone, who came first. Christian Terrell, actually from the Last Chance Saloon, came second place, I believe. Some absolutely superb drinks created, and a great day all round. So if you've not tried it yet, get on it. Get trying Polugar. Let's talk about the roller coaster restaurant at Alton Towers. Okay, so this week I spent a couple of days at the Alton Towers Resort with my family. Popped down with my wife Jo and my little boy Oliver. We had a lovely time. Spent the first day basically in the water park, and then in our second day we went over to the Alton Towers theme park itself, having stayed in the Splash Landings Resort overnight. Now, one of the things that we really wanted to do, and we were able to book it at check-in, was get to eat at the roller coaster restaurant at Alton Towers. So we spent our day wandering around, doing all the normal stuff, normal touristy stuff, and then come the afternoon, before our trip back, we popped over to the roller coaster restaurant, which is in the Forbidden Valley area of the theme park, right next to the what was formerly the Air theme park ride, now Galactica, with the full virtual reality roller coaster, and opposite Nemesis, sort of probably the most famous ride at the theme park. Now, roller coaster restaurant, as you approach it, is in the old Air Shop building. It's kind of a two-story open plan building, and as you walk in, the first thing you're greeted by is roller coaster tracks all over the ceiling. So it basically looks like you're kind of inside a roller coaster. You've got 13 big tables. Each one of those has got kind of semicircular 4-seater tables attached to it. And you will get seated by your waiter. They will present you with a tablet and explain pretty much how to use it. And you get to sit down, order your meal from the tablet, send it directly to the kitchen, and your meal is delivered via roller coaster to the middle of your table. Now, each seat is numbered, so basically when you place your order, you're going to hit your number on the tablet computer. You're going to choose what you want to order and send it to the kitchen, and then the next person in the next seat can order theirs. Now, you can order anything. We ate lunch. Your food is talking maybe £12 for a main course, up to sort of £15-16 for lunchtime. It goes up to about £30 for the sort of featured main courses of steak and lobster, that sort of thing, in the evenings. They're open from 5 till 10 in the evenings, and midday, I believe, till 5 in the daytimes. And essentially, you order your food, and all you do is hit the send to kitchen order button, and your food, in just a few minutes, will be winging its way through this roller coaster above your heads and find its way to the right table somehow, and and then you grab it from the central table that kind of spins round. You grab off of your meals that you're having, labelled with your table number, and enjoy. There's nothing more to it. You don't get a waiter come over and take your order. You don't get anyone come really to clear your plates or anything else like that. If you want starters, you order them first. When your starters are done, then you order your main courses. Now the food was pretty good. I had a spicy chicken burger. It was very, very tasty. The spiral fries we had with it were a little bit mismatched kind of thing. It was there was a bit of a mix of kind of maybe brand new and stuff that had been sat in the fry basket for a little while. So some of them were a little bit hard, some of them were a little bit colder than others. It was a bit weird, but everything kind of arrives at your table in these little pans with a lid on and an elastic to make sure stuff doesn't fall out, because these things are actually doing loops on the way to your table. Food-wise, really, really tasty. There was no problems with the food, except that when you're paying sort of £12-13 for a burger, you kind of expect a little bit more than you would from your average fast food venue in a theme park. But the food was all kind of pre-cooked, and as I say, it arrived within 2 or 3 minutes to your table, so you can't expect that it's going to be completely fresh cooked at that point. But at that price point, you don't necessarily want something that's been sat in a window. So I'm not 100% sure exactly what I feel about that just yet. It's one of those things that's a little bit confusing just at the moment. In terms of portion size, the main courses are very, very large. Very good. You know, you want to be filled up when you're there. But also the kids' meals, you have one size fits all between 2 and 12, and a 2-year-old doesn't eat as much as a 12-year-old, so you're going to either end up throwing some away, or you're going to have a very happy 12-year-old. We ended up having an adult meal and a child's meal between myself and my wife, and that was actually plenty for us, even with our son eating as well. So, Alton Towers, just bear that in mind. Maybe offer like a toddler portion. It's worth a think, because these are the sort of things that really make meals feel better for parents. Even if it's not that much cheaper, you just don't feel like you've wasted a lot if you get a meal that's actually the right portion size for you. In terms of actually watching this all going on, it's really, really fun to watch your meal coming down to you. One thing I did notice is that I ordered a beer with my meal, a Peroni. It wasn't cold. Surely it's not that hard to have cold beers and hot food. That's kind of basics for me. I'm sure it's teething issues. I know the restaurant's been open less than a week, but it still was a little bit disappointing when the beer arrived to you, and obviously you've got to open your own beers and that sort of thing, but the beer's not, it doesn't even feel like it's been in a fridge. So there was that. High chairs. Guys, if you've got a high chair that's got a tray on the front of it, make sure your plates fit on the tray. It's not a massive issue, but it feels like they kind of opened and then went, oh no, we haven't got any high chairs. So they ran out to the shops, bought some high chairs, and then never tried to see if the plates would actually fit on there. So the plate was kind of being balanced between my son and the tray, and they're massive plates, and they've obviously been custom made. They look really nice. They've got a lovely little logo, a little graphic on there, but it doesn't work. It doesn't fit on the thing. Give us small plates for the kids. Give us small cutlery for the kids as well, because the cutlery was bigger than you would probably have at home, a little bit longer, which is nice. It feels good in a premium restaurant to have a kind of slightly weighty cutlery, but kids can't. It's like this big for him. My hand's probably not even in shot, but all I'm saying is just buy that cheap. Just go to IKEA. IKEA do it. It's really cheap. The thing is, I don't want to complain about this restaurant. I had a really good time. We had a lovely meal. We ate it. We enjoyed it. But there are these little details. Things like having the right size cutlery, having the right size plates, having a beer that's cold and food that's hot. It's not a massive leap. These little tweaks, and this is going to be an incredible place to go. I would guess within probably 2 weeks, it's going to be fantastic. At the minute, it's really good. Soon, I hope it'll be fantastic. So that's going to be it for this week's BartenderHQ.com podcast, guys. Hope you've enjoyed everything. I hope you've enjoyed the Polugar. I hope you've enjoyed the Alton Towers thing. I know it's a little bit different. We don't normally talk restaurants. We don't normally talk about food service. But if that has kind of given you a little idea of, oh, why don't we actually have smaller cutlery in our restaurant when we have children come? Why don't we have I checked that our plates actually fit nicely on our high chair trays? If it's just made you kind of go, oh yeah, maybe we should just check that. Maybe we should make sure it's easy for families to come and visit us. Then it's all worthwhile. So as I say, that's it for this week's podcast, guys. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you again on next week's show.
Thanks for listening to the BartenderHQ.com podcast. Find us on Facebook and Twitter at BartenderHQ.
Oh, and before you go, I've got a new podcast as well. It's called Booze and Bazinga. It's only on YouTube at the moment, so go to the bartenderhq.com channel. If you go to bartenderhq.com/YouTube, you will find it. And it's myself and Sam from Emporia talking about comic books and talking about all the cool stuff that we like that's not really about bartending. But we have a cocktail at the beginning and we tell you all about it. So, enjoy. If you like this video, click like. If you disliked it, click dislike. Let me know in the comments if there's something else you want me to talk about. And thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already so that you will get notified every time we release something new.